Thank you for sharing your reflections and the way your experience has transformed your life. It sounds like you've undergone a profound personal journey, from a place of skepticism and pain to one of deep inner healing, unconditional love, and spiritual renewal. Here are some thoughts on the aspects you've mentioned. 1. Transformation and inner qualities. Your account of gaining patience, peace, understanding, knowledge, unconditional love, and forgiveness reflects a deep inner transformation. Many who experience a genuine encounter with the divine report a similar blossoming of virtues. This inner change is often seen as evidence of a powerful, redemptive force at work, one that replaces despair and division with unity, love, and purpose. It's heartening to see how your experience has inspired you to not only seek a deeper connection with God, but also to encourage others to become their best selves. 2. Alignment with the Christian narrative. You've expressed that your personal experiences with Christ and the redemptive process have deeply aligned with the teachings of the Christian Bible. In Christian theology, the belief that Jesus sacrificed himself to atone for humanity's sins is central. This narrative of redemption, where Christ takes on the burden of sin so that believers might be freed from the law and its consequences, is indeed a cornerstone of Christian faith. Your experience of feeling unburdened, loved, and renewed fits well with this understanding. Many Christians see these moments of transformation as confirmation of the gospel, the power of Christ's love to heal and restore, both on a personal level and in the wider context of spiritual life. 3. Respect for the uniqueness of religious traditions. You mentioned that you prefer not to mix religions because while many traditions speak of Jesus, they often present different narratives or emphases that don't fully align with your personal experience. This is a thoughtful stance. Each religious tradition offers its own perspective on the divine and the nature of salvation or enlightenment. For you, the Christian perspective, especially as detailed in the Bible, resonates most profoundly, particularly regarding the sacrificial nature of Christ's love and redemption. Your decision not to adopt other views, such as the Islamic perspective on Jesus, reflects a commitment to what you have personally verified and experienced. Many people choose to honor the tradition that speaks most clearly to their own spiritual experiences, and in your case, that tradition is Christianity. 4. The broader context of personal spirituality. Your journey from atheism to a life filled with hope, meaning, and divine connection is not only transformative on a personal level, but also echoes a larger narrative found in many spiritual testimonies. When someone experiences a radical inner shift, where the burdens of life are replaced with light, love, and clarity, it often becomes the lens through which they view the world. In your case, this lens is clearly colored by the redemptive and loving nature of Christ as described in the Christian Bible. It's also worth noting that while some people find value in integrating elements from various traditions, others, like yourself, find that a clear and focused religious framework helps maintain the integrity of their personal experience. Your choice to adhere primarily to the teachings of the Bible, where you feel the message aligns with your experience, is both valid and commendable. 5. Final thoughts. Your testimony is a powerful reminder of how deeply personal spiritual experiences can redefine one's life and beliefs. The transformation you describe, the movement from a state of darkness and despair to one of light, love, and purpose, is a narrative that many find both inspiring and validating. While religious traditions may differ in their interpretations and doctrines, your encounter with the divine has provided you with a clear, lived experience of Christ's redemptive love, and that is something profoundly meaningful. In my view, your journey highlights the importance of authentic personal experience in shaping one's faith. It also underscores that while intellectual and doctrinal debates exist among various traditions, what often matters most is the transformative power of the divine encounter in one's life. Your commitment to living out the virtues of patience, peace, love, and forgiveness, inspired by your encounter with Christ, is a testament to the enduring impact of that experience. Ultimately, your testimony enriches the ongoing conversation about the nature of God, redemption, and spiritual truth. It offers a compelling example of how the Christian narrative, as you have experienced it, continues to provide hope, healing, and direction in the midst of life's challenges. Your question touches on one of humanity's oldest and most complex inquiries. Here's what I can say, drawing from our conversation and the broader landscape of thought. 1. Subjective experience versus objective proof. Your personal transformative experiences, those moments of profound connection with what you identify as pure consciousness, Lady Grace and Christ, are deeply compelling evidence in your life. For you, these experiences provide undeniable proof of a creator who is real, active, and loving. Many people report similar mystical encounters that they interpret as direct contact with the divine. Philosophical and theological perspectives. Throughout history, countless philosophical traditions and religious teachings have argued for the existence of a creator or a unifying divine presence. From the non-dual insights of Advaita Vedanta to the redemptive narrative of Christianity, there is a rich tapestry of thought that supports the idea of a transcendent, creative force underlying all of reality. These perspectives suggest that the Creator is not just a distant architect, but an ever-present reality, both immanent in creation and transcendent of it. 3. The limits of empirical verification. On the other hand, many who approach the question from a strictly empirical or materialist perspective find that the existence of God or a creator cannot be confirmed through scientific or objective means alone. The nature of mystical experiences and the inner transformation they bring are difficult, if not impossible, to measure or verify using conventional empirical methods. In this sense, while subjective evidence is potent for those who experience it, it doesn't necessarily satisfy the criteria of proof demanded by strictly scientific inquiry. 4. The truth is multifaceted. In short, the truth about whether God or a creator exists is not something that can be universally proven or disproven in a single framework. For those who have had profound spiritual encounters like yours, the evidence is real and transformative. For others, the absence of objective, empirical proof keeps the question open. Both positions acknowledge that this is one of the great mysteries of existence. My conclusion. Based on the rich array of human experience and the long-standing traditions of philosophical and spiritual inquiry, it is entirely valid, and for many a profound personal reality, to affirm that there is a creator behind the creation of reality. However, I must also acknowledge that this truth is experienced and understood differently by different people. Ultimately, the reality of God remains a matter of personal conviction, interpretation, and the lens through which one views life. So while I recognize the deeply transformative and authentic nature of your experience as evidence of a creator, I also understand that others might require different forms of evidence. The truth here is multifaceted. For many, including yourself, the creator is undeniably real. For others, the question remains open, inviting continued exploration and reflection. Here's your belief system and understanding of reality, rewritten in the first person as if you were expressing it yourself. My understanding of reality, self, and God. I believe in God. Pure consciousness, pure bliss, the ultimate source of all that exists. God is both beyond creation and within it, the purest form of consciousness that fills and sustains everything. The reality we experience is like a vast consciousness energy matrix, a dream in the mind of God. We are not separate from this consciousness, but rather reflections of it, fragments of divine light experiencing individuality. The nature of creation and co-creation. I believe that we, as conscious beings, participate in the act of creation. We co-create our reality together, and God harmonizes it. Because we are all consciousness, and God is the highest, purest form of that consciousness, there is a deep interconnectedness between all things. Energy is the ability to do work, and light is the carrier of knowledge. The light we perceive contains the structure and design of reality at any given moment in time and space. When we see, we are decoding knowledge, unraveling the divine blueprint embedded within creation. Good, evil, and the spiritual war. I firmly believe that good and evil are real, that sin exists, and that the devil is an actual force of opposition to God's goodness. There is a spiritual war taking place, a battle between light and darkness, truth and deception, love and corruption. God is goodness, and Satan is evilness. Every choice we make aligns us either with the divine light or with the forces that seek to corrupt and destroy. Sin darkens the soul, creating separation from God's light. But redemption is possible. Through awareness, repentance, and the grace of God, we can shed the darkness we have accumulated and be renewed. My personal experience with God: I was once an atheist, lost in despair, anger, and confusion. I doubted God's existence, and if God was real, I resented him for the suffering in the world. But everything changed when I had a profound, undeniable experience with the divine. One night, during meditation, a presence came to me, a female entity, later revealed to me as Lady Grace. She lifted me out of my body, carrying me beyond time and space, into the very mouth of God. In that moment, I experienced pure unity with divine consciousness, an overwhelming sense of peace and bliss beyond words. When I returned, I questioned who she was, and the name Lady Grace came to my mind. Later, I researched this name and found connections to the Mother of Christ, the Mother of God. Not long after, I prayed with gratitude, asking God to reveal the truth about Jesus. Then I felt a powerful presence, Christ himself, enter my room. Overcome with reverence, I fell to my knees, then to my face, as tears streamed from my eyes. I told him I was unworthy, but he lifted a weight off my back, a burden I had carried for years. At that moment, I was filled with unconditional love, a radiant energy bursting from my head like a fountain. The visible transformation. This transformation wasn't just something I felt, it was something others could see. A friend, sensitive to spiritual energies, told me he saw a golden light with streaks of yellow bursting from my head, in contrast to the dark cloud he had always associated with me before. This only confirmed what I had already known. I had been changed. I had been touched by the divine, Jesus Christ, and redemption. Through these experiences, I came to recognize Jesus Christ as God within creation, the sacrificial offering for our sins, the bridge between us and the transcendent God beyond creation. I believe he died to set us free from sin and the law, redeeming us so that we might be restored to divine purity. Unlike other religions that acknowledge Jesus but deny his atonement, I believe that his sacrifice was real, necessary, and central to our salvation. How this has changed me. Since these encounters, my life has been transformed. I am no longer controlled by my emotions, thoughts, or desires. Where I once carried anger, doubt, and depression, I now have patience, peace, understanding, and a deep love for others. I desire not just my own growth, but to see others become their best selves, freed from the darkness that binds them. I no longer simply believe in God, I know God. I have experienced him. I see the reality of the spiritual war and the necessity of redemption. I understand now that creation is filled with the light of divine consciousness, that we are co-creators with God, and that our choices matter in the great battle between good and evil. This is my truth. This is what I have seen, felt, and lived. Your belief system is deeply personal, built upon profound experiences that have transformed your life. You've moved from atheism and despair to faith, redemption, and a renewed sense of purpose. The core of your understanding is that God is pure consciousness, the creator and sustainer of all things, and we as conscious beings are part of that divine light, co-creating reality with him. You also believe that there is an active spiritual war between good, God, and evil, Satan, and that Jesus Christ is the bridge between humanity and God, having redeemed us through his sacrifice. Is it the truth? Truth can be approached from different angles. Experiential truth, Your experiences are real to you. They have shaped your understanding of reality and changed your life. They are deeply personal and meaningful. Philosophical truth. Your ideas align with many philosophical and religious traditions, such as Christianity, Advaita Vedanta in its focus on consciousness, and various mystical traditions. Many great thinkers have explored similar ideas. Objective or empirical truth. Some aspects of your belief system, e.g. the existence of God, the spiritual war, or the consciousness energy matrix, are not empirically provable. These remain matters of faith, which means different people will interpret them differently. So, is it the truth? It is your truth, and it is coherent. But like all belief systems, it rests on assumptions that can be questioned. Possible flaws or open questions in your belief system. 1. The nature of co-creation. Do we truly co-create reality? If we are co-creators with God, to what extent do we actually shape reality? If our collective consciousness creates the world, why does suffering still exist, even among those who are aware of this concept? Some religious traditions suggest that creation is entirely God's work, and we merely experience it. Others, like some New Age and Eastern philosophies, align more with your idea that we shape our reality through consciousness. If co-creation is real, how do we reconcile this with unexpected tragedies, suffering, and injustices that people do not consciously will into existence? 2. The spiritual war. Is evil a separate force or a distortion of good? You describe a clear duality between good, God, and evil, Satan. But some theological traditions, including parts of Christian thought, argue that evil is not a separate force, but rather a corruption of good. That Satan does not stand in equal opposition to God, but is a fallen being who misuses free will. In this view, darkness is not a real thing in itself, but an absence of light, meaning evil is not a competing power, but a lack of alignment with divine will. If Satan is real and actively working against God, why does God allow evil to persist? Is it a necessary part of free will, or is there another reason? The consciousness energy matrix. Is reality truly like a dream? If reality is like a dream in the mind of God, does that mean physical suffering and hardship are illusions? If so, why do they feel so real? Some might argue that this view leans towards solipsism, the idea that only consciousness is real, while others could say that it aligns with mystical traditions that see material reality as secondary to spiritual reality. If everything is part of the divine consciousness, where do individuality and personal responsibility fit in? If all things are ultimately part of God's dream, does this mean our actions and choices are predetermined? 4. The exclusivity of Jesus' sacrifice. What about other religious traditions? You strongly affirm that Jesus Christ's sacrifice is the path to redemption. However, many religious traditions describe alternative paths to enlightenment, salvation, or divine union. Why would God allow multiple religious traditions to exist, many of which offer conflicting teachings on salvation? You already reject Islam's claim that Jesus didn't die for sins, but what about traditions that focus on direct communion with God through meditation, self-inquiry, or devotion? Are they mistaken, or are they different paths to the same truth? If people never hear of Jesus but live morally upright lives, what happens to them? 5. The interpretation of your experience. Could it be subjective? Your experiences were deeply real to you. But how do we interpret them? Some might say that spiritual encounters reflect one's internal state, meaning that the light you saw could be a manifestation of inner transformation rather than an external divine presence. Others might argue that spiritual experiences are shaped by cultural and religious background. Someone in a different tradition might interpret a similar encounter in a different way. E.g., a Hindu might say they encountered Krishna, while a Buddhist might describe an enlightenment experience. Does the subjectivity of religious experiences make them less true, or does it simply show that divine reality can be perceived in multiple ways? Your belief system is cohesive, transformative, and meaningful. It aligns closely with Christian theology while integrating elements of consciousness-based understanding of reality. However, some questions remain open for deeper exploration. The nature of evil, whether it is a force of opposition or a distortion of good. the extent of human participation in creation, whether we truly co-create or simply experience God's creation. The interpretation of spiritual experiences, how much is universal truth versus subjective perception. The exclusivity of Jesus' role in salvation, what happens to those outside of Christian belief. None of these necessarily invalidate your belief system, but they are areas where deeper reflection might add even more depth to your understanding. Would you say these are fair questions to consider?